Welcome back to my channel, and today I got another great video for y'all today. And today I'll be talking about a topic that I feel that teachers need to start teaching in school, and it gets brutal. Okay, so let's just put it like this. This story dates back all the way to the 1700s, and this was called the Gullah Rebellion War. So what this story is about, it's about slaves that were tired of getting pushed around and wanted their respect. And keep in mind, they only did this for a century. They did this for a century. The 1700s all the way to the 1800s. And let me get you started on the facts. So typically this story refers to the Stoner Rebellion of 1739, which was the largest slave uprising in the British American colonies. Fought on September 9th through the 10th, 1739, it was led by enslaved man named Jimmy and involved dozens of Central African and Gullah people who seized arms near the Stono River in South Carolina. So they did this stuff for a long, long time. And if you go back to the other story from 1816 to 1858, the Gullah Wars, they had they built a group with Somali people and they called it the Black Somalis, and they fought back because they wanted their respect back, and they did this ever since the 1700s. So they was getting mistreated since the 1700s, and they just chose random day and it was like, I want to get my get back, because who am I to let somebody push me around knowing the person that I am? Like, and I feel like they don't teach something like this in school because they only want to see the bad side of the slaves. Like, people talk about Martin Luther King. They talk about how the slaves got pushed around, how they did this, how they did that, but they never speak on facts like this. And really, this story made me just think about how I would have never found out about this if I didn't do my research and the comment didn't come to my video. But other than that, let me get back on topic. On Sunday, September 9th, 1739, Jimmy and roughly 20 enslaved men raided a warehouse near the Stono River. In the present day Riverville area, armed with guns, they marched south waving banners and shouting liberty, their numbers swelling to nearly 100 as they moved toward Spanish Florida. And just thinking, reading that segment right there, that just made me realize that these slaves really fought for their respect. 1739 all the way to 1858. Do you know how strong you got to be to keep doing that for years? And you got to have a legacy to push on. You got to have people to push on through the years to motivate themselves to, I'm going to fight for my people. I'm going to do this for my people. And why not? Why would you not do that? Because if you getting pushed around all day, getting fed no food, getting paid no money, getting tired, you will use that against them too. Because these slave owners, they didn't realize what these slaves were doing. These slaves were using their strength against them. Because the slave owners thought they can get one on them and bring them to the plantations and use them to work on their farms and all of that. But these slaves thought different. They thought with their mind. So, and they thought with their hands too. I can say that. So these slaves, they thought with their mind. They were like, hey, I'm not going to let these people push me around. I'm not going to let these people talk to me like this. So they did the Stono Rebellion, which is called the Gullah Rebellion, but it's, it typically refers to the Stono Rebellion. And the goal of this was the rebels marched towards Augustine, Florida, where the Spanish government offered freedom and land to escaped British slaves. And this was that's really good, because if you think about that, that reminds you of the story that I just did on my last video, how they ran and the British wanted to take them and help them, but they didn't want to give them back. And the aftermath of this, the South Carolina militia intercepted the rebels near the Edisto River in a furious battle. Dozens were killed, and the survivors were either executed or sold into slavery in West Indies. In response to the terror it caused among white planters, South Carolina passed the harsh Negro Act of 1740, which heavily restricted the assembly movement and education of enslaved people. So what they did to these enslaved people, they wanted to take them back to North Carolina. No, South Carolina. Scratch that. They wanted to take them back to South Carolina to make them dumber than what they were trying to do. They wanted to take the enslaved people back. They wanted the enslaved people to not get education. They wanted the enslaved people not to. They didn't want us to live. They didn't want us to strive. They only wanted us to be dumb and work for them. But these slaves, they thought about this and they thought, I'm going to do this my way. And what they meant by my way is they they fought back in the craziest ways. Like the stuff that they did on here, it just makes you think like, why did they not teach things like this in school? Because me reading all my facts, sorry I had to move the camera, but me reading all my facts about this story, it just makes me think like, why do they not talk about things like this? And I'm just now finding out about this. And the initial outbreak occurred near the modern day Kawa Kaka Intercept Center in Ravenel, South Carolina, which features historical markers and trail access. So you can still look at this today in the South, somewhere in South Carolina. But this was crazy. And one thing that I forgot to tell y'all is these slaves not only fought back, they spoke in their own language, which was called Gullah, which was mixed with a little bit of Creole. Just thinking about that. Like Creole, I don't understand it, but they understood it and they fought back. Like just thinking about that, you're using your own language to get one over on the slave master. You did this for over a century, over 4 decades. Just that's just really crazy to me. And these slaves, they wasn't taking no disrespect at all. And it's just crazy how this began. Like this begun all because, like, let me read this to you. In early September 1739, dozens of enslaved men residing near the Stono River launched a violent campaign to gain their freedom. The events of that bloody uprising, commonly called the Stono Rebellion, from a pivotal and well-known episode in the history of South Carolina, but our understanding of its geographic is imperfect. It oh, I almost read too much. But as that was saying, it was dozens of men residing near the Stono River. They launched a campaign to do this stuff, so they did it over a few decades. And the slaves didn't want to take no disrespect from no one at all. And just looking back at this story, doing this all the way from 740 all the way, no, 739 all the way into the 1800s, which is 1858. And they did this by communication, by being strong, by helping each other out. And man, but other than that, y'all, I hope y'all learned something new. This was a good story. I had a great video today. I got more content coming for y'all. Pick up on this video. But other than that, I will see y'all later.